Well, I can tell you, Max, it was certainly an earthquake that was felt all over central Italy. I felt it here in Rome. It hit in the middle of the night, and it was a big one. It lasted several minutes and really shook all of the buildings. Even people here in Rome went out into the streets and were very afraid as to what was going to happen afterwards. There didn't seem to be too many aftershocks, frankly, but the big one that hit was enough. And, of course, in the epicenter in Aquila, which is north of Rome, kind of right in the center of Italy, as it were, there's much damage because it's an old medieval area. The buildings are ancient and some of them crumbling, and so as you can imagine, the authorities are trying to ascertain at this moment exactly what the damage is. It happened in the middle of the night, so we're now in the early hours of the morning trying to figure out exactly what the number of casualties are and what is the damage to a lot of those buildings, because of course the problem in Italy is that you've got very old buildings that are always trying to be maintained, and so when you get an earthquake like this, which does happen quite a lot in central Italy, frankly, because they're on fault lines there. There are two fault lines that run through all through Italy. You always have quite a bit of damage in these situations, and especially for an earthquake of this magnitude.
Yeah, Delia, just watching the latest images we've got coming through to us. It's obviously still dark there. Daylight is about to happen, as it were, so we'll get a proper sense of the damage. But certainly just these pictures in a darkened Italy look bad enough. But like you say, it's a very old city, isn't it? So the foundations aren't particularly strong. So the concern is that more homes would be damaged there than they would in more modern parts of Italy.
Well, exactly, because in more modern buildings now, of course, they're very careful to build according to certain standards. I can tell you even my own building, which is fairly modern, but it rocked back and forth like a boat. So in some of these more ancient towns, you're going to have a lot of damage to the buildings, and many of them, of course, are wonderful historical sites as well. Not to, the houses are the most important thing where the people are, and of course, hospitals and dormitories, etc. We've had Italian television talking about a student dormitory that the roof has collapsed on. So there are a number of different places where people right now are quite worried. And when an earthquake strikes, the Italians tend to go out into the street. I remember in California they tell us to get under something, get under a doorway, get under a desk. But here they tend to go out, and that creates more confusion and more panic. And also you have a strange situation of lots of construction sites sometimes in these central Italian areas. I remember in 2002 in that terrible earthquake when a school collapsed on 26 children and they died. And so you have these sort of building sites because they're constantly rebuilding these areas that are very dangerous when you go out into the street then, because any of the material from those building sites can just fly off as well. So it becomes a very chaotic situation when these earthquakes happen in these small towns.
Yeah, Delia, we're just going to go back to those daytime pictures because they've just come in to us, and they do give a better sense, really, of the amount of damage in that region of central Italy. We understand that at least 6 people are dead, but all the news agencies suggesting that the figure will be much higher, I presume, because you don't really know how many people are dead, because under these buildings you're going to, unfortunately, find more bodies.
Unfortunately, that's always the way, Max. In the beginning, the numbers are only those people that they know immediately. This happened at 3:30 in the morning, and we're a few hours from that now. But as you can see with the rubble, it's going to take quite some time to figure out where everybody is and exactly the numbers. And, of course, we're talking about a number of different towns as well. So it's not just in one major city. It's all over in very small towns. A population around the epicenter was about 100,000 people. But as I told you, this earthquake was felt in a number of places outside of that. So that it will be probably throughout the day. Unfortunately, we'll see an increase in that number.
And we were talking about preparations for earthquakes in that area. They are pretty much used to earthquakes there. There have been some appalling ones in the past. And someone's suggesting to us that over 100,000 people are out in the streets because, as you say, they want to go out to open areas to avoid the sort of scenes that we've got on the on the screens at the moment.
Yeah, they're out in the streets, and then they're afraid to go back into their houses, because in these old houses, they'll just crack and bits will fall off, and so it becomes an unsafe situation on where to go, frankly, when an earthquake strikes. And they have tried, because it is in a fault line, they've tried to reinforce a lot of these houses and a lot of these areas. But of course, when an earthquake hits, even some of the reinforced ones can't hold in these situations.
Okay, Delia Gallagher, thank you very much indeed for joining us from Rome.
Joshua Brothers is an American missionary who has been living in Italy for 2 years. He was asleep when the quake hit, and earlier we spoke to him by phone from the city of L'Aquila.
It was just a really big shake. It felt as if a 747 was actually coming in to land. That's the first thing that passed through my mind.
Did you hear anything?
Just the whole palazzo shaking, and people were yelling they were getting ready to come out of the palazzo. And so we grabbed a few things, stepped on our shoes, and headed out of the palazzo. The palazzo is the apartment where we live, and everybody was reuniting outside together, family and friends.
So did you see did you see any damage where you were? Understandably, it is very early in the morning at the time when it happened. Were you able to see any sort of damage or any injuries at this time?
Actually, we did take a walk just down to check on one of our friends that we know that lives just down the way. Our palazzo is fine, but if you look along the way, there are many palazzi that are cracked. Walls have fallen in on some of them on the bottom floors. There was actually one person there was a woman who had a wall fall in on her. We're not sure of her condition, who lived in the palazzo where our friend lives.
And are you seeing, where are you walking to right now? You're walking away from your apartment, which is near the city center. Where are you walking to right now?
We're actually walking towards the center. There's some other people that we know. We have to go down into a little valley and then come back up. And we're going to be seeing how they are today, see if we can help and serve.
Have you seen any of the emergency services? Are they there right now? There are people trying to, I guess, find any survivors, any victims of this earthquake?
Yes, they are. Most of them are actually in the city center right now. That's where the strongest damages were made, because most of the buildings in the city center are more than 100 years old. And so they have walls that are a lot weaker than the other palazzi that are made of reinforced concrete. And so there were a lot more damages actually inside the city.
That was Joshua Brothers. He's an American missionary who's been living in Italy for 2 years, and he was actually in L'Aquila, and he spoke to us not too long ago. Just to give you an update of what's been happening, what we know right now, reports are indicating that at least 6 people have been killed in this earthquake, the 6.3 magnitude earthquake in the city of L'Aquila, which is about 70 miles or 110 kilometers northeast of Rome. It happened around 3:30 a.m. local time. That was just a couple of hours ago, just a few hours ago. We are bringing you as much information as we can at this point, but understandably, because this is just unfolding, the information is just trickling. Some of the images that we're getting right now is overnight pictures from just a couple of hours ago of, again, cranes, damage, people trying to run to safety. Numerous other bits of information that we're also getting is the mayor of L'Aquila saying that at least 100,000 people are having to leave this town. As we heard from Joshua, the town is a medieval city. There are lots of old buildings, so excuse me. Probably as daylight breaks, as we are seeing now, and we get more pictures from daylight, we will see more damage that has been that is a result of this earthquake. We will bring you the very latest, of course, as soon as we get